What's up, guys? This is Teddy. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be the second part in the series of our dashboard. And we got a lot done with the dashboard, but there's still some areas of the app that we're going to need to take care of. And basically, this boils down to you want to see specific races that you created in your dashboard. And you don't want regular users to have the admin privileges just to edit every single running club. You only want regular users to see their races and see their dashboards, and that revolves around creating what are called hidden fields. And hidden fields are an incredibly important part of software development in forms. In fact, software development is like a huge, 50% of it is just forms, and hidden fields are a big part of that. So like I always say, let's go ahead and dive into this and start creating this. So a hidden field is a field on a form. It's basically just exactly what it sounds like. It's a field in a form that is hidden that will supply values that are returned from the server, and that may seem a little, like I said, confused. Like I always say, like pretty much every single video, it's a little confusing at first, but once you see it, you will get it, and you will have tremendous skill set for your job that you can you'll know this for your job. So what I did was I pasted this little snippet right here, and I'll just leave it right there so you can go ahead and copy it, and you can put it in the top of your forms. You can also put them down at the bottom. You just have to make sure that you put this hidden input field in the form tags, otherwise it won't be within the form. So here it's type hidden, the ID is app user ID, the name is app user ID, and the ASP4 is for the app user ID. And it's going to pull, whenever you actually go to the web page, it's going to pull that information. But we can't just stop there. We're also going to have to give the controller ability in order to actually see this. So I'm going to go into the club controller, and we're going to start adding the ability for the server to return the app user ID. And pretty simple. It's a little complicated, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll get through it, and you will have a very valuable skill that you will always have in the future, because every single app I've ever used has this feature in it. That's not an exaggeration at all. Literally every single one. So make sure to pay attention, and we will get through this. Okay, so next thing is, let's see, we're gonna have to add this HTTP context accessor. Go ahead, put that down there, and bring this in. Initialize field, and awesome. That looks fantastic. Then we're gonna go down to our create. Right now, our create is just returning a web page, but once again, when we actually get that form, we need to get the user ID in there, and we need to get that from the server. So before we actually return that web page, basically what this is going to do is, before it shows the web page to the user, it's going to go out to the data, or not the database, but it's going to get the it's going to pull the HTTP context, and it's going to get that user out of the HTTP context. But this part is relatively complicated, and what I usually do is create an extension for this, because when you pull the HTTP context, you get a huge object. This object is really complicated, and it's better just to kind of abstract all of this away so that you can just quickly grab the value that you want, and you don't have to worry about, digging through this massive fucking object. I'm sorry I said fucking, but massive object. And let me see. Principal. Hopefully I do not get demonetized for that. If I do, oh well, it's just one video. Okay. Extensions. Okay, so and the way that we're going to do this is we're going to create what's called an extension. And you may not have ever seen an extension, but an extension is very handy. And I will show it to you. And this is a very important skill to have. We will go ahead. We're just going to create one. You can, after you get good at this, you can actually just come in here and create your own extensions, but I'm just going to create one, and this is what a extension looks like. It's a strange looking function. So you're going to go in here, we're going to pass in that user, then we're going to go dot find first claim types dot name identifier. Then we're going to go dot value, and we need to bring in the claim types. That's spelled wrong, that's why it's not bringing it in. So we're going to go claim types, just like that. And let's just go ahead and shut this down because we're getting all types of little squiggly lines. And then we're going to go back and we're going to use this handy little extension. And if you look at this, we didn't have to actually bring this in. We didn't have to bring this in through dependency injection. We can literally just tack this onto an object. And if we go to implementation, this is actually, it kind of makes sense. This is referring, whenever you see the word this, it's referring to the instance of it. So with this, it's referring to this claims principal instance right here. So this is actually representative of that. And it's not like we're actually, if you wanted to, you could pass in a value to this, but this is actually being passed in to the parameter. And if you look at, there's actually nothing being passed in here. What's being, quote unquote, passed in is this claims principal. It's pretty neat. And that's going to get that's going to get our actual ID, and we don't have to go to the database and do anything, crazy like that. We can just literally get our user ID without, hitting the database, and it's pretty awesome. So now let's go back to our control. We already are in our controller, and then we are going to use our view model, and we're going to pass that view model, that object that we created. You always kind of want to use a view model. View model is best practice. A lot of people have asked about that. And we're going to pass in that app user ID, current user ID, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to pass that in. It's going to give us a error because cannot convert type string to int. So this is what's actually being passed in here is a string. So let's go back in here, and I made that an int. It really should be a string, and we'll go ahead and we're going to pass it because it's a GUID. It's not actually an int. A GUID is whenever you are kind of like passing things to a view, you don't pass it as a GUID, you pass it to as a string, and that's what's going to pass that value into the create club view model. And I'm going to show you what it looks like once we pass this value to the hidden field, and give you a really good idea of why this is so important. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to inspect here. And let me see. Actually, we need to go to our dashboard because we are creating. We're going to create a club. It's going to pass. It's going to get that GUID. Look at that beautiful GUID. It's going to create club view model. It's going to pass it to the view. And we can go in here and we should see it. Okay. Yep. Look at that. That beautiful little GUID is now in our form. We don't see it, but the value is there so that when we create it, and we still need to set up a couple more things so that when the user creates this value, this is stored in the database and it can actually be associated with a database value so that when we try to get it later, it will actually show up. The next thing is we need to put the app user into our post. And this is why I typically tell people whenever you create your models like this, you want this ID, you want this app user ID, you want this address ID. You could just in theory put the app user in there and Entity Framework will do a lot of the guesswork for you, but it's way easier to be able to just go in here and add that app user ID just like that and immediately pass that value into the model, if that makes sense. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go. You have to get like the whole. You will have to get the whole entire object, and that's kind of, I don't know. Nobody wants to do that, to be honest with you. Okay, and then so we've got that. Now we actually need to do the exact same thing for our for the races. So we're gonna go to the races view. Go here. Once again, always make sure that you're passing that hidden input into the form, otherwise it's not going to work. Let's go ahead and check out our view model up here, and I'm going to go ahead and close this down. So go up here, and this is really easy to edit because it's not the actual domain, it's just the view model. So we can just go in here, quickly add this, and once again, like I always say, we're off to the races, and we don't actually have to. That's one of the good things about having a view model too, is that you don't have to actually manipulate the domain. So we're going to go into here, and we are going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to go up here, private dot read only. And then we're going to go HTTP context accessor. We're going to go there. Then we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go HTTP. We're going to go here. Control dot. Then we're going to initialize that field. And we're going to do an underscore because it makes it look a little bit better. And same thing. So let me see. We're gonna get our current user ID is equal to HTTP context accessor. Then we're gonna get the context. We're gonna put a little question mark there because it could be null. Then we're going to use our handy little extension that we just made. And it is looking good. So we're going to go var create race view model. So we're going to go equal new create race view model. And we're going to go, looks like we already got our app user, got our current user. We are going to return that view model to the view, and looking good. So we're going to go to definition. We've already got the race view model. Go ahead, pass that in there. It could be null. And while we are down here, let's go ahead, do our app user, and then we're going to do the race VM. And app user ID. We've got that. So I think that should be good. I'm going to go ahead and test it. See what it looks like. Oh. So we're going to go in here. Go create club, make sure that we are getting this value, looking good. Awesome. Then we're gonna go to the race, make sure that we have our hidden field in here. So got the body, got main, got the form, and we've got our app user ID. So let's go ahead. Let's test out both, make sure that we can actually do the post. So we're gonna go test. It's gonna be a marathon. It's gonna go street. We're gonna go state. We're just gonna do test for everything. We'll give it a nice little React logo. Then let's go down, make sure that it's actually adding. Yep, looking good. Added it. Awesome. Looks fantastic. So we got that one. Let's go back. Okay. So we'll go test, city, test, give it checkbox. Same exact thing, looking great. Okay, so now we need to actually build out the races and we need to build out the clubs. And the way that we are going to do that is go back to our dashboard controller. I think there's a couple things that we still need to do. So when we hit this database, we need to have a way to actually get, we're gonna have to get the GUID. And I had this prior, but I'm actually going to take this out because I think this looks like doo-doo, and we're just going to go ahead and use get user ID and have the get user ID, and that's going to make it look a little bit better. We could have just hard-coded it in there, but I don't think that's good. Then go back to our dashboard. So what we want to do now, for right now, we only have the races, and it would actually be a lot better if we just went in here and we'll just go ahead and do this by hand. So we've got, I'm going to delete this SVG thing that I've got going on in here, and we're going to replace this with an actual image. And we're going to do the item. I don't know what's going on there. So go back, got the image. Div element was not closed. Strange. So here's what I will do. I'm going to upload this, and this is kind of getting it's way too redundant, and the video is going to go on way too long if I go through and do all this HTML, and it's a lot easier just to you know, and a lot less tedious to actually go through and do all this HTML. So just go to my GitHub and toss in that dashboard, and it's really easy. I'll go through and explain to you every single part as well too. So we've got our two buttons up here. We've got our create club. Now we have these two for each loops, and essentially this is just like every other single for each loop that we've ever seen in the app. and it's going to create these two cards. The only thing that's different is it's going to check for authentication, and because the user actually owns these races and they're not like another person's races, you will be able to edit these regardless, and they're not a super user. A super user can edit everything in the whole entire app and can edit even races and clubs that are not his or hers. So go in here, we're going to go to our dashboard, looking great. It's going to have your races and your clubs. We're going to go ahead and edit it. And because this is not tied to an app or an app user ID, you're just editing it, you don't actually have to go through and add that hidden field. It will just automatically edit it for you. And because super users can edit everybody's, and guests or people who are logged in can only edit their own, it's safe and you don't have to worry about actually messing anything up. And the user can create races and they can edit races, and it will only do so for a specific one. And when you create that race, it's tied to the person that originally created it. And that's pretty much it for the dashboard. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to make the user page so that people can network with other runners and they can see other users, and they will be able to meet other people on the app. So instead of just clubs and races, you'll actually be able to meet other runners. You'll be able to schedule other races, and you will also be able to edit your own actual app as well too. So hope that you guys enjoyed this video. That's going to be it for now. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and as always, thank you for watching.